Hey, this is Craig the Natural Medic, and today I'm visiting the Canyon of the Ancients National Monument, which is run by the Bureau of Land Management. The visitor center is just outside of Dolores, Colorado, and I'm going to visit a couple of the sites today. It's a pretty large national monument, about 175,000 acres, so definitely not going to see all of it today, but hopefully we can see some of it on the hike. And if you'd like to see that with some really cool cliff drillings and things like that, come with me. And this building up here on the hilltop is the visitor center for the monument, and also has a really nice museum in there. They do charge an admission fee, so you have to pay $7 a person unless you are the holder of the public lands pass. You can get in for free with that. So first thing we're going to do is go walk up to the trail, which is right here by the visitor center, called the Domínguez Escalante Pueblo. Just a short paved walk up the trail here, about a half a mile to the top of the hill, where you can see some really cool, easily accessible pueblos. Let's go take a look. Now, one thing that's visible from this area is called the Sleeping Ute Mountain, which is straight out there. I almost didn't recognize it because it had snow on it, and I guess I'd never seen it with snow on it. But looking at this panel right here, it explains how it was formed. The Ute Mountain Utes, they have a myth that he is lying on his back. So if you look at the picture here, lying on his back with his arms folded, like he's asleep. But geologically speaking, it's about 60 million years old, and it's what you call a laccolith, where you had magma coming up, and it pushed upwards into the sandstone and kind of made it like a bulge, but never broke through. So it's interesting to think about, and if you look at it, I think you can see a Ute warrior laying on his back with his headdress and his hands folded. What do you think? Hey, if you're liking this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up so it gets out to other people. I appreciate that. Thanks for watching the video, and now back to it. So this area right here is a pueblo. It was named for the first European visitor to the area, which was Escalante. And much of the rubble on the surface, and about a third of the building was excavated in the mid-70s. And tree ring dates from the timbers were determined to be cut around 1120 AD. And the building overall plan of central kiva with surrounding rooms, or a room block, and then core and veneer style masonry, was an unusual style. As you can look on the rendering here, hopefully you can see that. I need to pause the video if you want to take a closer look. And we're going to walk around this way and see if we can see a different look at it. So the interesting thing about this location is you have a great view of the surrounding area. To the east there is the La Plata Mountains. They're covered with a cloud right now, and they have some snow on there from a recent snowstorm. I guess southeast would be Mesa Verde National Park is over there. Behind us we have a reservoir known as the McPhee Reservoir. It's down right now. But you could also see from this location, you could see the top. And there's some more rooms right there. We'll be able to see them better when we come around this side. Pretty neat how this has been excavated. You can see the rooms there, like a apartment type structure. Not too indifferent from what we're used to today in apartment style living. Can you imagine what it would be like to live on top of this hill and have a view of all of this back in these days? This panel right here talks about the Spanish explorers that came through the area. So shortly after the Declaration of Independence was signed on the other side of the continent, in what would soon be the United States, over here, this was Spanish territory, what is now Colorado, and there was a monk, a Franciscan monk. His name was Father Francisco Silvestre Vélez de Escalante, and Francisco Anastasio Domínguez. And they had a cartographer with them, Don Bernardo Miera y Apologize if I butchered those pronunciations, but they were on a big journey. They left from the Spanish colonial capital of Santa Fe and were heading towards California. They never made it, but they did have an amazing journey through what is now New Mexico, Colorado, and returned back through rugged, wintry terrain in early January in 1777. But their journals and maps are some of the first descriptions of people and places that the Colorado Plateau, which I'm standing on, that any Europeans had ever seen. So, for example, this is an excerpt from the journal. It says, "Upon an elevation of the river's south side, in ancient times there was a small settlement of the same type of those Indians of New Mexico as shown by the ruins which we purposely inspected." And that was made by Escalante on August 13, 1776. Pretty neat. And from this panel here, it says this is what they looked like back in the day. If you can see this panel, might be a little hard in the bright sunshine, but basically you had a earthen top with an entrance portal through the roof, actually, on a ladder where they would climb down into. And today's Pueblo people that live throughout the southwest here are divided into 20 separate communities, and their ancestors are still here. Quick overlook of McPhee Reservoir. It was built in the 1970s by the Bureau of Reclamation for water supply for the area, not only the valley at large, but also for the Ute Reservation. Several peaks on the horizon, hard to see a lot of them, but what a beautiful view today. Hello again. I am now on the Sand Canyon Trail, which is located west of Cortez about 12 miles. And I'm on a little spur trail which intersects with the main trail. There's two parking areas on the south side. Looks like there's a sign coming up here, and you can see that. I just walked up this little spur line. I parked the vehicle there and I'm going to continue up the trail past all these little pueblos and cliff houses. The first one we'll come to significance. It's called Saddlehorn Pueblo. And then there's Double Cliff, Corncob. Hopefully we'll get to sunny Alcove. Tucked away 2-story wall curves and house with standing wall curve. Then turn around and come back. So continue with me if you want to see that. And of course behind me, as I was walking up, my vehicle is parked down there. That's sleeping Ute Mountain, which we saw earlier from the visitor center, which is quite a bit further away. Now we're quite a bit closer. These toadstool looking rocks are pretty cool. You can see all the multi-layers. I believe our first cliff dwelling is going to be Saddlehorn. It's going to be right over here. This is our first cliff dwelling to view. It is called Saddlehorn Pueblo. And if you look, I think you can see why. The early settlers and ranchers, maybe it looked like a saddlehorn, the way that rock is shaped. And it's right in that nice alcove there. Pretty cool. I think these cliffs are very fascinating. Pretty amazing that the native people chose this area to live in, considering these impenetrable cliffs. But I guess because of the way they face and the ruggedness of them, they felt like this was a good spot. The ruggedness of this land still is quite beautiful. You can see down there at the bottom of this canyon, there's a little creek, and it's got enough water in it that it froze over. And if you follow it out, let's zoom out, look at that. We have sleeping Ute Mountain. This is a little spur trail for a nice view. There's that big kind of hill or bluff or whatever you want to call it. Butte up there. Pretty wild. All right, so this trail here, there's a pretty extensive trail network out here. This one is called the East Rock Trail, I believe. So it goes over there, that way, into that little sub-canyon there. You can see it on the map here. This is where I'm standing. A little bit past that viewpoint that I just went to. Pushing on a little bit further, there's the Double Cliff House and the Corncob House on a little spur trail up here, about probably a couple tenths of a mile from this junction. Let's go check that out. But as you see, you can ride horses and mountain bikes and hike and all kinds of stuff through the extensive trail system here in Sand Canyon. I'm not sure how much closer we'll be able to get to these. Looks like the trail goes cut down there, but I'm not certain. But I think one of these is Alcove House and one of them is called Corncob House. I think that's correct. If not, I'll correct it in post. But you can see they're incredibly well preserved because those alcoves that they're in happen to be pretty dry alcoves. I got no idea how they got up there. Maybe they used a series of ladders. But that's pretty wild that you can see those from so far away, and they appear to be very well protected. Okay, I stand corrected. This one up here, the first one, the one on the left, which I'm going to walk to now, is called the Corncob House. So, can't really see it very well as of yet, but we will. There we go. I'm assuming they call it the Corncob House because they found some ancient corn cobs in there. Pretty neat. It's like you got a series of walls that were here. Let's walk over a little closer. Wow, pretty neat. So it looks like you've got a series of walls kind of at the bottom there and some other ones at the top. Corncob House. How interesting. I think I had read that they found some, if I use the word ancient, but very old corn cobs up in there, which is why they call it Corncob House. I called the wrong name earlier, but I think I can see why it's fitting. It's called Double Cliff House. You have a wall right there that's by itself, and there's a gap. Probably was some kind of structure there at one time, I would imagine. And then you have one above that, up there. And if you look at the rock to the side of it, to the right, it almost looks like it's like cake icing, like it's dripping off. It's interesting. Obviously those little holes in there are probably good for a lot of wildlife like birds. And there's probably a lot of cliff swallows and things like that, I would guess, in there. I still have lots of daylight, so I think I will keep going to the next set of dwellings, which is about another mile up the trail. I'm a little past 3 miles, and what do I see? That's probably the best dwelling that I've seen so far on this trip. I don't know what its name is offhand, but wow, isn't that cool? Looks like I can see 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 wall structures. There's one over here on the left, then there's one, looks like there's maybe one right there with the one in the front, and then there's another one and another one, so I call it 5. Pretty cool. And what a great angle it has facing the sun. Okay, I think this one definitely is aptly named. Sunny Alcove. How cool is that? They definitely picked a good spot. Can you imagine living here? What your life would be like? It's hard to think about, isn't it? All right, so per my Garmin, I'm about 3.5 miles in. So just keep that in mind. I got to walk that back. This is called 2-story tucked away house. Very cool. And it is definitely tucked away and definitely looks like it's 2-story. I think there's another house down here as well, but we'll look at this one a little closer when we get to it. And down here you have one called Wall Curves with Bedrock House. I guess they had been abandoned, and I mean abandoned, and there were no people living there. I know the native people believe that the ancestors never left, but I'm saying, being an occupied dwelling so long ago, I guess they really didn't have a known name for these places, unless it was following tradition of the native groups that came after. So something to think about. If you're an anthropologist or archaeologist for the government, what would you name these places? Let me know in the comments below. All right, it's as close as we can get. This one is called Wall Curves with Bedrock House. Well, that seems appropriate. Seems appropriate. Certainly is a tucked away 2-story house. Zoom in a little bit. Looks pretty tall. They definitely made use of the overhang here and built right into it. That's a pretty cool one. That's probably my second favorite one. I think my favorite one that I've seen so far is the sunny alcove one, which we saw before these two. We got one more to go check out real quick, right around the corner here, and then we're going to head back. Okay, this one is called House with Standing Curved Wall. And I can see why they called it that, because the wall curves up, follows the bedrock as it curves up in the alcove here. What an interesting place. Definitely picked a secluded spot over here. Kind of hard to see it until you get up on it. That's the last one we're going to see for today. Again, in the comments, tell me which one was your favorite out of all the ones you have seen. I think my favorite still is the sunny alcove, with the 2-story tucked away being the second. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm going to walk back to the truck now, give you a summary when I get back. All right. Thanks for following so far. Woo, okay. That was 7.66 round trip. Took a little bit over 3.5 hours, but saw some cool stuff out there. What do you guys think about it? If y'all liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, leave those below, or if you're on the podcast, make sure to use that link and drop us an email. Let us know what you're thinking. Now I'm going to head back to the house and get something to eat. So have a great time and watch one of these videos up here. All right. Talk at you later. Bye.